it's just Cheryl again. It's spring, and so we have decided to show you how we make our green borscht, which is made with sorrel.
Щавель in Russian. Alright, so here you're looking at Щавель, or they say in English Sorrel. It grows in our garden box, but back in Ukraine it was just growing wild. Usually my grandma will send me to the end of the garden where I had a little meadow when it grew hay. I guess Sorrel doesn't like thick grass, prefer the grass was regularly cut down, and that's how I would harvest Sorrel. You can eat it raw. It has a nice tart flavor, kind of, I would say spicy. Has nice tartness to it. Probably has a lot of vitamins. It was like one of the snacks when you're somewhere out there, you want to snack on something, you just find some sorrel, you eat it, and that's what we use for Sorell Borscht. Щавель.
And recipe-wise, I had to watch Sergey's mom make this a couple of times and kind of write things down. So I'll go through the basic recipe with you. I've had to make a couple substitutes today just because I'm out and I don't feel like running to the grocery store. So what goes is you want about 3 cups of chopped sorrel. And I'm going to show you how I chop it. It's kind of a lengthy process, but you want it really, really minced finely. Of course, you pick it, wash it, and then mince it. So that's one thing. They have small potatoes in Ukraine, and you want about 5 medium. So I'll probably truthfully maybe use 1.5. These 2 large potatoes are almost too much. I normally would use 1 box of chicken stock and 1 box of beef stock. The combination works really well. But today I'm going to substitute with my better than bouillon, a beef and a chicken. And you want roughly 8 cups of water for 1 recipe. This is the way I base it off. And I know it sounds weird to do the chicken and the beef, but it works really well. And by using the broth, it eliminates hours of boiling. The next thing you want is, normally you really want green onions. I don't have any. You would cut the tops small, and then you would cut the bases small. And we're going to fry up.
Make зажарочка.
Again, for the Sorell Borscht. And in that żareczka, we're going to be using today about half of a regular onion diced very finely. And then I'm going to use some chives just because I don't have the green onion. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with those later. A small amount will go in our fried mix. And then you're going to dice very small 1 carrot. Now she only used a small chunk of carrot. I'm actually going to use a full one. And you want to peel it and dice it quite small. Another different thing that we're going to add is, normally you would chop up fresh mushrooms and add it to the żareczka. I don't have any, mine went bad, so I'm actually going to use some dried mushrooms and reconstitute them in a little bit of boiling water, and then I'll chop them up. But the mushroom flavor is pretty essential. And then you also want to hard boil 1 to 2 eggs. I like to use 2, but you only have to use 1. And I know it sounds really odd, but it really is delicious in this borscht. And then you want a bay leaf. So that's pretty much it. And then when the soup is all finished, normally you would top it with some fresh dill, and you would do the green onion part. Today it's going to be dried dill and the chives, and hopefully it'll turn out and won't be too different because Oliver is extremely picky. But we'll give it a shot. So now I'll show you step by step how I do it. Okay, so I have washed the sorrel in water, and then I used a salad spinner just to get the excess water out. Now, another way that people can preserve, and if you can't get your hands on any fresh sorrel, which in truth is really hard to explain. It's not bitter, it's not sweet. If you ever as a kid tasted a clover, it's that type of flavor. So it's just so good. You can also purchase preserved sorrel in a brine, which is basically some salt and maybe some fresh dill. I haven't used it too much in truth, but they do this in Ukraine, and then they can use it all through the winter. So you can try that. I'm not sure ratio-wise how much you would use because it is salted. You kind of just have to play with it. But again, this is a product of Lithuania. But it is jarred. Haven't used it yet. When I do, I'll let you know. Okay, I thought I'd show you how I chop the sorrel. So get it laying as one way as possible, and usually you want to take off the stems if there's any long ones. Sergey did a pretty good job when picking it. And then all you want to do is you just start at one end, bunch it together like you would to make a chiffonade, and you're just going to keep going back and forth until you get it nicely chopped. And then we're going to kind of turn it and keep going. So you're going to do this for quite a while because you want the sorrel to really be pretty fine. You don't want any large chunks of it. You can substitute a little bit of fresh spinach with sorrel if you feel like maybe you don't have quite enough. I've done that and it works just fine. Obviously a slightly different flavor, but it doesn't really change it. So we got it chopped one way. Now we're going to come back this way. Then we're going to kind of turn it and keep going. And you just do this over and over until you feel like it's the right size. And when I'm finished, I will show you what that actually is.
And I just want to add, I'm an operator today, but you could smell sorrel. It has this really interesting, what do you say, sour smell to it?
Yeah, it's slightly sour, kind of a bitter tart. It's kind of a tart flavor. So that's what makes it so unique and delicious. And I guess that's really why the egg and the mushroom work so well with it. I have a girlfriend that loves sour things, and I made this for her once when she was sick, and she absolutely loves it. It's Oliver's favorite borscht. He actually does not like red beet borscht. But now Sasha is not a fan of this. So, you know, different strokes for different folks. But it's really good. If you can somehow try it or find sorrel, I highly recommend it. So you'll see how I'm getting it pretty finely chopped. And I really have just gone back and forth and back and forth. Turned it, chopped some more. So you get the idea. So we're just about there. Then I'm going to set the sorrel aside and I'm going to chop the other vegetables and show you about how I do those. And then I'll go about the process of just kind of putting it all together. Okay, so I've chopped the onion quite small as well. And the carrot is pretty much the same size. I did have a couple fresh mushrooms salvageable on the verge. And then potato, I like to do a smaller dice. You can do them a little bit larger. But I just kind of disguise them, honestly. And then the chives, which obviously green onions would be better, and you would dice up the white part separate from the green part. The reconstituted mushrooms are going to be a little bit interesting because they're extremely strong. These are, I think, porcinis or some type of mushroom from Ukraine, and they have a very strong smell. So I won't use much of these, but I will chop them up finely here shortly, drain them real well, and then add them to the
Zажарочка.
And again, you want to use that unfiltered sunflower oil. It kind of has its own flavor, which really enhances this fried part. So I'll show you once we get going and we'll see how it comes together. So I just thought I'd show you how I do this better than bouillon. So I've got 4 cups of roughly boiling water, and for each teaspoon of this is supposed to constitute a cup. So obviously just a big old heaping spoonful, and this is probably closer to a tablespoon. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the chicken. And then later I'm going to add I'm going to add this to my pot. I'm going to add 4 more cups of just regular tap water. And then I'll adjust for seasoning once I bring it to a boil. So that's as easy as that. Okay, so we are putting our onion and our carrot and our little bit of fresh mushroom and then our reconstituted dried mushroom. So get this all in here. And again, you want to saute it on medium heat for a while and then turn it up because you really do want it to get some dark. I am also adding the chives for color. And then if you look over here, I have the broth and the water all ready to go. Now, ignore the oil slick. I think I poured oil in that pan too while I was talking, not thinking. But once that comes to a boil, I am going to throw in our bay leaf. I will add the potato. Once the potato is tender, then I will also add in the sorrel. The sorrel only takes a couple of minutes. So once I add that, it all goes pretty quickly, and we'll show you as we go. But again, here's the
Жарочка.
And we're just going to saute this for a bit until we have some nice color on it. And the carrot is quite tender.
Yum, yum.
Okay, I just thought I'd show you. We've been boiling the potatoes for, I don't know, 5-ish minutes. As soon as they feel almost tender, then I'm going to add in the sorrel. Obviously, it's cloudy. That's the beef broth. You can use just 2 cartons, again, of 1 beef broth and 1 chicken broth, and it works really well. You just might want to add a little extra chicken bouillon if you need a little more flavor for it. So this is coming along nicely, and then our zavichka is starting to look really good as well. It's gotten tender, and now I'm just trying to brown it by kind of leaving it at about a slightly more than medium heat. And I may turn it up just a little bit just to really get some of it crispy. Then once this is done and the sorrel has cooked, I will add this in, and then I will top the soup in the very end with the boiled eggs. I've chopped them quite finely, and then normally it would be green onion tops that were diced, and then fresh dill, which I'm using dried. So it should still be good, just slightly different than my normal recipe. I just thought I would show you my horrible handwriting and this scribbled note, and I didn't even spell Sorell right, probably not even borscht. This was while I was watching his mom on this little notepad that I kind of scribbled as she was going. So it's very haphazard and you probably wouldn't be able to follow it. But you can just see some of the recipes I have in here. Fried cauliflower is another really good one that she showed me how to make. Let's see what else. There's the surnic that we learned to make. Zucchini patties, but their zucchini is definitely different. It's very wet and I don't know, just very different. I haven't had success with our zucchini here. I guess that's about it. The rest of these are kind of my own. Her pierogi, which I don't even think is hers actually. Compote, which I don't like. It's kind of like a homemade juice, but it gets pretty chunky, and they like that a lot. They drink
Yum,
it
yum.
actually quite a lot.
Yum, yum.
And I think that's about it. Gosh, this is a mess. Yeah, that's about it. And you want to make sure that you wash your sorrel really well. I think one year I accidentally chopped up a bug, and then I was disgusted the whole time. So just wash your sorrel really well. And you'll see that this is perfect. We've got it nice browned bits. I'm going to let it cook just for another minute or so, and then we're pretty much done. And again, you of course would add a little dollop of sour cream to your borscht. Okay, so soup is ready. The sorrel is cooked. You'll see it turns kind of an ugly green when you know it's done. And then I'm going to put in our nice, lovely
Zажарочка.
And then sometimes this pan doesn't really stick at all, but there is still flavor in it. So I use a little bit of the broth and I clean the pan because I want every bit of that flavor from the oil and the frying. And then I put it right back into the soup. And now we just want to stir that up for a second, let those flavors kind of do their thing. And then what we do last is we put in the hard-boiled egg, the green onion top, and the fresh dill, and in our case, dried dill. And then basically your soup is done. You don't really need to cook it after this. This is the last step, and it's just ready to go. So I'm going to turn the heat off, and see how pretty that is?
Absolutely gorgeous.
And then I'll show you, we're going to plate up a bowl, but you can see the potatoes and the carrot, the zажарочка, and the egg. And that's it. That's your green Sorell Borscht, and it's really different, but it is extremely delicious. Also, I almost forgot, you do need to add a little salt depending on how salty the broth is that you've used. Mine wasn't too salty, so I am going to add, I don't know, maybe a teaspoon. And of course, less is better, and just add it to your bowl if you need to. But don't forget, and some pepper. We added probably about a teaspoon of black pepper. You can do a sachet with whole peppercorns, but why bother? I just throw in some black pepper. Here's the finished product. Now, I am going to tell you that this is a lot darker than it would be normally. I think it was the dried mushrooms, and I probably overdid it on the beef broth. Ordinarily, it would be more of a clearish consistency. So, like I said, try using boxed chicken broth and or do your thing. And you just add some sour cream and stir it around, and don't forget to eat it with bread.
Don't have bread if you eat soup. Alright, so this is Щавлевый Борщ, Sorell Borscht, made in America with some American twist, and so far I truly enjoyed it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, don't forget to like it, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания, goodbye. If you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet Union.